The forest was quiet in a way that felt alive. Tall trees stretched high into the sky, their leaves moving gently as soft wind passed through them. Light from the twin suns filtered through the branches, painting the ground with warm gold patterns. Far from the crowded human colonies, one small cabin stood between the trees. It looked simple and old, built from wood and scrap metal, but it was strong and carefully maintained. The man who lived there preferred silence over noise. He had moved away from the main settlements years ago. Some people thought he was strange for choosing isolation, but he did not mind. Life near the forest gave him peace. Every morning he repaired machines or explored trails, and every evening he returned home with his loyal dog walking beside him. The dog was large, with thick fur and bright eyes that always watched the world carefully. It was more than a pet, it was a companion who understood his moods without words. The two shared a quiet routine that rarely changed. That evening felt different. The dog stopped suddenly, ears standing straight. Its body became tense, and a low sound escaped its throat. The man paused and looked ahead. The forest seemed normal, but the dog did not move. Then, without warning, it ran forward. "Hey!" he called, following quickly. Branches brushed against him as he moved deeper into the trees. The ground sloped downward toward an area he had never explored before. Soon he saw broken branches and disturbed soil. Something had crashed here recently. When he reached the clearing, he stopped. A deep crater marked the earth. Steam rose from burned dirt, and strange metal pieces lay scattered around. At the center of the crater was a figure. The dog stood near her, barking softly but not aggressively. She was not human. Her skin looked pale and almost glowing under the fading sunlight. Long dark hair spread across the ground like shadows. Her armor was sleek and unfamiliar, made from material that reflected light like liquid metal. Thin lines of energy flickered across it, blinking weakly as if losing power. The man's heart beat faster. He had seen aliens before in distant cities, but never alone in the wild, and never like this. He moved closer carefully. Her face was calm but cold, with sharp features that gave her an almost royal presence even while unconscious. Two faint markings near her eyes glowed softly. When she breathed, it sounded uneven and weak. The dog sniffed her hand and then looked back at him, waiting. He hesitated. Helping unknown aliens could be dangerous. Frontier news often spoke of conflict between species. Some aliens saw humans as weak or unimportant. Others saw them as unpredictable, but leaving someone to die was not something he could do. He knelt beside her. "Easy," he whispered to the dog. The armor suddenly reacted. A soft hum filled the air, and a faint blue light scanned his body from head to toe. He froze, unsure whether to step back or stay still. After a moment, the light faded. A quiet mechanical voice spoke in a language he did not understand. Then it switched to broken human speech. "Biological entity, human, threat level low." He blinked in surprise. The alien woman moved slightly, her eyes opening for a brief second. They were bright, deep red, but not frightening, only tired and filled with confusion. She tried to sit up but failed, collapsing back against the ground. He raised his hands slowly. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said softly, unsure if she understood. Her eyes studied him carefully before closing again. Above the trees, a faint sound echoed like distant thunder. He looked up but saw only clouds. Something about the moment told him they should not stay there long. He carefully lifted her. She felt lighter than expected, though her armor looked heavy. The dog walked close beside him as he carried her out of the crater and back through the forest toward the cabin. As they walked, small lights flickered across her armor again, reacting to movement. Symbols appeared and vanished too quickly for him to understand. When he reached the cabin, he laid her on a simple bed. The dog sat nearby, watching carefully. He removed pieces of damaged armor slowly, trying not to cause pain. Underneath, her skin had strange markings that glowed faintly like energy moving beneath the surface. He cleaned her wounds with water and basic medical supplies. Hours passed. Outside, night settled over the forest. Suddenly, her eyes opened again, sharp and alert this time. She moved faster than he expected, grabbing his wrist with surprising strength. He froze. Her gaze was intense, searching his face as if trying to understand what he was. She spoke in her own language first, voice low and powerful despite her weakness. When he did not respond, she switched to broken human words. "Where am I?" "In my home," he answered calmly. "You crashed in the forest. I brought you here." She released his wrist slowly but continued watching him. You, human, he nodded. A long silence followed. He could see calculation in her eyes as if she were measuring every detail about him. The dog walked closer and sat near the bed. The alien woman looked at the animal with surprise. Slowly, carefully, she extended a hand. The dog sniffed her fingers and wagged its tail once. Something softened in her expression. "You saved me," she said quietly. "I guess so." She closed her eyes briefly, as if gathering strength. "I must leave," she said, trying to rise again, but her body failed her and she fell back. "You're not going anywhere tonight," he said gently. Outside, a distant light flashed across the sky. He stepped outside the cabin and looked up. High above the clouds, faint shapes moved, ships scanning silently. A cold feeling settled in his chest. Whoever she was, someone was searching for her. Inside, the alien queen watched the doorway, sensing danger even through exhaustion. Her mind raced with thoughts of betrayal and war, of enemies who would stop at nothing to capture her. She had escaped death once. Now she was hidden in the home of a species her people barely respected. Yet the human had helped her without hesitation. As the night grew darker, the dog lay between them like a silent guardian. The forest whispered with wind, and far above, scanning lights continued to sweep across the sky. Neither of them slept easily. And somewhere beyond the stars, the fate of an entire empire slowly moved closer to the small cabin in the woods. The morning came slowly, like the forest was afraid to wake up. Fog hung low between the trees, and the air smelled of wet soil and pine. Inside the cabin, the man moved quietly, listening to every sound outside. He had not slept much. Each time the wind shifted, he thought it might be footsteps. Each time a branch snapped, he thought someone had found them. The alien woman lay on the bed, still and silent. Her breathing was steadier than last night, but her skin still looked too pale. The marks on her body glowed softly, like tiny rivers of light under her skin. Her armor pieces were stacked neatly on a chair. The man had cleaned them as best as he could, even though he did not understand what they were made of. The dog sat near the bed, watching the woman's face as if waiting for a sign. When the woman finally opened her eyes, she did it with more control this time. She did not jump or grab him. She only looked around the room carefully, taking in the walls, the tools, the simple furniture, the small kitchen, and the old heater in the corner. Then she looked at the man. "You stayed," she said in broken human speech. "It's my cabin," he replied. "I live here." She stared at him for a moment, then she tried to sit up. Her face tightened with pain, but she forced herself to stay calm. He stepped closer slowly, holding a cup of warm water. "Drink, it will help." She took it cautiously. The cup looked too small in her long fingers. She smelled the water first, like she expected poison. Then she drank, slow and careful. The dog moved closer. It was not afraid. It sat beside her and rested its head on the edge of the bed. The woman watched the animal with interest. "It guards you?" "He's family," the man said simply. Her eyes narrowed slightly, like she was testing the meaning of the word. "Family," she repeated, speaking the word like it held weight. Outside, a faint humming sound passed through the sky. Both of them heard it. The man's body became tense. He walked to the small window and looked out through a crack in the curtain. The fog made it hard to see far, but the trees were still. No footsteps, no figures. Only the forest. The woman noticed his fear. "They search." "You mean the ships?" he asked. She nodded once. "Hunters." That word landed hard in the quiet cabin. The man sat down across from her. He kept his voice calm. "Who are they? Why are they looking for you?" The woman's gaze turned distant, as if she was looking at a memory that made her feel cold inside. For a moment she did not answer. Then she spoke slowly, choosing each word with effort. "I am ruler," she said. He blinked. "Ruler," she hesitated, then corrected herself. "Queen." The word felt unreal. Queens belonged to stories and history books, not to a wounded stranger lying in a simple cabin near the woods. But everything about her presence made the word believable. Even injured, she carried herself like someone used to power. "You're a queen," he repeated quietly. "Yes," her voice was firm. "Of my people." He leaned forward slightly. "And your people are?" She looked down at her hands. "In your language, you call us vampires." He had heard that word before in colony rumors and old SpaceNet videos. People said there were alien beings who looked pale, who moved too fast, who could survive without sleep for long periods, and who fed on energy in some way. Humans told the stories like scary myths, but the galaxy was big and strange things were real. He kept his face calm. Are you dangerous? Her eyes lifted to meet his. All rulers are dangerous, she said, then paused. But I did not come here to harm you. The dog let out a quiet sound like a sigh, and the man felt some tension ease. If the dog trusted her, he wanted to trust her too, even if his instincts warned him to be careful. He asked the next question slowly. Why are hunters after you? The woman's jaw tightened. Betrayal, she explained in broken pieces. Her empire was not only large, but old. It was built on strict rules, on fear, on power. Her people believed emotions made leaders weak. Kindness was seen as a flaw. Mercy was seen as a mistake. Yet she had been trying to change that, not with soft words, but with steady choices. She had been trying to stop endless wars and stop her generals from treating every weaker world like a prize. The generals hated her for it. Some of them had planned a coup. They spread lies, calling her soft, calling her human-minded, calling her unworthy of the throne. They attacked during a public ceremony when she was surrounded by her own guard. She survived, but only barely. She escaped with a small ship and a small group of loyal followers, but her ship was damaged in flight. A tracking device had been planted somewhere in her armor. The hunters followed her across systems like wolves. They want my death, she said, or my capture. And if they capture you, the man asked, her eyes darkened, they will force words from me, secrets. What secrets? She hesitated again. Her gaze moved to the dog, then back to the man. If I speak, my empire burns. If I stay silent, they burn other worlds. The man sat back. His quiet life suddenly felt like it was standing on thin ice. So you're hiding here? Yes, her voice softened a little. And you helped me. He gave a small, tired laugh. My dog helped you first. The woman looked at the dog again, and for a moment her expression almost looked confused. It chose to protect me. He's good at reading people, the man said. Better than I am. She did not smile, but something in her eyes shifted, like she understood that was a compliment. They spent the next hours in careful conversation. The woman learned basic words faster than he expected. Her mind was sharp, even if her body was still healing. She asked about human life, about the colony world, about why he lived alone. He told her the truth. He used to work in a busy settlement fixing machines for shipping crews. But life there was loud, tense, full of rules and people who wanted something from him every day. He got tired of it. He wanted space. He wanted quiet. He wanted a life where he could breathe without someone watching him. So he built this cabin. He lived off repairs, hunting for scrap, and doing quiet work for locals who came sometimes. He did not need much. The woman listened carefully. You chose solitude. Yes, and yet you did not leave me, she said. He looked away for a second, because leaving you would feel wrong. She studied him like he was a puzzle. Humans are strange? Yeah, he said. We hear that a lot. The dog moved to the door suddenly, its ears lifted, its nose pointed toward the outside. The man froze. What is it? The dog growled low, not loud, but serious. The woman's body became tense as well. She turned her head slightly, as if listening to something beyond the cabin walls. Then they heard it. A soft crack of a branch, not wind, footsteps. The man grabbed his old rifle from the wall. It was not advanced. It was a simple hunting rifle he used for wild animals. Against alien hunters, it might be useless, but it was all he had. The woman reached toward her armor pieces on the chair, but her movement slowed in pain. No, he whispered, stepping closer to the window again. He looked through the crack. Between the fog and trees, he saw shapes moving. Not animals, not humans, tall figures in dark armor moving like shadows. They did not walk with the heavy step of normal soldiers. They moved smoothly, scanning, watching. Their helmets glowed with faint red lights. His stomach tightened. The woman spoke softly behind him. Hunters, she said. The man's mind raced. He could not fight a whole squad. He could not run far with her injured. If they were found, the cabin would become a trap, he whispered to the dog. Quiet. The dog stopped growling but stayed tense, watching the door like a statue. The man moved quickly, lifting a loose floorboard near the bed. Underneath was a hidden space he used to store supplies and old tools. It was not made for people, but it was enough to hide someone for a short time. He looked at the woman. Can you fit there? She stared at the space, then at him. Pride flickered in her eyes. Queens did not hide under floors, but survival did not care about pride. She nodded once. He helped her down carefully. She moved with pain, but she did not complain. Her eyes stayed focused and calm. Before she disappeared into the hidden space, she grabbed his wrist gently, not like last night, but like a warning. If they take you, she whispered, do not speak of me. He nodded, though fear pressed into his chest. He slid the floorboard back into place and covered it with a rug. Then he moved to the kitchen table and forced himself to act normal. He poured water into a cup, set it down, and waited. The footsteps came closer. A shadow passed across the window. A heavy knock hit the cabin door. The dog barked once, loud and sharp, like it was warning them to stay away. The man took a slow breath, then opened the door carefully. Two hunters stood outside. Their armor was black and smooth, shaped like it was grown instead of built. Their helmets hid their faces, but the red glow in their eyes made them feel unreal. Behind them, more figures moved between the trees. One hunter spoke through a translator that turned alien sound into rough human words. "Human, this area is under search." The man forced his voice to stay calm. "Search for what?" The hunter stepped closer. "An escaped target." "Dangerous?" "I haven't seen anyone," the man said. The hunter's helmet tilted slightly, scanning him. A faint light swept across his body like a cold touch. The man kept his face blank. He kept breathing slow, like he was only annoyed and not terrified. The hunter spoke again. "You live alone?" "Yes," the man answered. "Only you and Beast?" "It's a dog," the man said, keeping his tone neutral. The hunter paused, then looked toward the cabin interior. "We must enter." The man's heart slammed in his chest. If they entered, they might scan the floor. They might hear her breathing. They might notice something wrong. He did not step aside. "No," he said simply. The hunter's posture shifted. "Refusal is obstruction." The man lifted the rifle slightly, not fully aiming, but making it clear he was not helpless. "This is my home," he said. "You don't have rights here, not without colony permission." The hunter stood still. For a moment, the forest felt like it stopped breathing. Then another voice spoke from behind, deeper and colder. "Humans claim rights with sticks and words." The man saw a taller hunter step forward, wearing armor with a different shape. This one felt like a leader. The leader's helmet turned slowly, scanning the cabin. The man's brain worked fast. He needed time. He needed a distraction. He needed to make them doubt. He pointed at the foggy forest behind them. "If you're hunting something dangerous," he said, "you're wasting time at my cabin. There are caves deeper in the woods, old mining tunnels too. If someone wanted to hide, they'd go there, not here." The leader paused, like it was calculating the truth. The dog barked again, stepping forward with teeth showing, not attacking but warning. The leader looked at the dog, then back at the man. "You are protective, that is rare," the man swallowed. "We protect what's ours." The leader remained silent for a long moment. Then it lifted its hand. A small drone rose from its wrist, hovering near the cabin door. The drone's light scanned the inside. The man's breath caught. He watched the drone move slowly, sweeping across the bed, the table, the walls. It floated toward the rug where the hidden floorboard lay beneath. The dog suddenly charged forward, not at the hunters, but at the drone. It jumped and snapped at the air. The drone jerked upward, startled. The dog barked wildly, knocking into a chair and making loud chaos in the small cabin. The man played along instantly. "Hey, stop!" he shouted, grabbing the dog's collar like he was trying to control it. The hunters stepped back, reacting to the sudden noise. The drone's scan became unstable. It floated erratically, light flickering as it tried to avoid the dog. The leader lowered its hand sharply, and the drone returned quickly, retreating outside. The man tightened his grip on the dog. "Sorry," he said through forced irritation. "He hates flying machines, always has." The leader stared at him for a long time. Then it looked at the forest again, as if weighing what mattered more. Finally, the leader spoke. "We will continue search elsewhere, but understand this, human. If you hide target, your colony will suffer." The man forced a small shrug. "I don't know what you're talking about." The leader signaled its squad. The hunters turned and moved away, disappearing into fog and trees like shadows melting into the forest. The man stood at the door until he could no longer hear footsteps. Only then did he close it, lock it, and lean against it, breathing hard. The dog sat beside him, tail wagging once like it knew it had done something important. After a minute, the man lifted the rug and pulled up the floorboard. The alien woman rose slowly from the hidden space, her eyes fixed on him. "You risked yourself," she said quietly. He wiped sweat from his forehead. "My dog did most of the work." The woman looked at the dog with something close to respect. "It is brave." The man helped her sit on the bed again. She winced but stayed steady. Then she looked at him and her voice turned serious. "They will return," she said. He nodded, feeling it in his bones. "Yeah." "I figured." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You are not weak." He let out a tired breath. "I'm just stubborn." The woman stared at him, and for the first time her expression softened in a way that looked almost human, not a smile but a quiet shift of trust. "You should have feared me," she said. He met her gaze. "Maybe I did a little, but I feared those hunters more, and I don't like bullies." The word seemed new to her. "Bullies." "Yeah," he said, "people who think power means they can do anything." Silence filled the cabin again, but it was different now. The air held a bond that had not existed before. He had lied to protect her. He had put himself in danger without even fully understanding why. Outside, the fog began to lift, and sunlight returned between the trees. But the peace did not return with it. The woman looked toward the window as if she could see the ships above. Her voice became a whisper. "They will not stop. They will burn this place to remove me." The man's stomach tightened again. He stared at the forest that had been his safe home. If she was right, then his quiet life was over. Not because he wanted war, but because war had found him. He looked at his dog, then at the alien queen. "Then we need a plan," he said. The queen's eyes locked onto his, and something dangerous and hopeful moved inside them at the same time. "Yes," she replied, "we need a plan." And deep in the woods, under calm sunlight, two very different beings began to prepare for a fight neither of them had chosen, but both of them would face with everything they had. The next day felt heavier than the last. The forest looked the same, but the man could sense the change in the air. Birds were quieter. Small animals stayed hidden. Even the wind sounded careful, like it did not want to carry secrets. Inside the cabin, the man moved with purpose. Fear was still there, but it had turned into something else now. It had turned into focus. The alien queen sat on the bed, watching him. Her posture was straighter today. Her breathing was strong. The glow beneath her skin was brighter, like her body was rebuilding itself faster than normal. She still looked pale, but her eyes were sharper, and her movements had more strength. The dog stayed close to both of them, following the man as he gathered tools and supplies. Every time the dog heard a far sound, it paused, ears up, ready. The man opened a storage box and pulled out old equipment, coils of wire, a solar battery pack, a few motion sensors he had built for wild animals, a small drone he used for checking his roof after storms. He did not have weapons meant for war, but he had something more valuable in a place like this, knowledge of the land and the ability to build things from nothing. He looked at the queen. "How far can they scan?" she answered slowly, making sure her words were clear. "Their ships can scan heat, movement, energy signals. They search patterns." "Can they see through the ground?" he asked. "Not deeply," she said, "but drones can find hidden spaces if close." He nodded. "So we keep them away from the cabin. And we give them something else to chase." The queen watched him carefully. "You think like a hunter." He gave a short, tired smile. "Humans had to learn this planet is not gentle." The queen's gaze moved to the window. She seemed to be listening to something far above. Then she spoke, her voice serious. "They will act soon. Their leader is impatient. If they fail to find me, they will destroy the area." The man felt his stomach twist. "Destroy how?" The queen did not use dramatic words. She only said it calmly. "From the sky, fire, shock waves. The trees, the ground, your cabin, all gone." The man went quiet. He looked around his home, the simple table, the old chair, the handmade shelves, the small repairs he had done over years. It was not just wood and metal. It was his peace. And now it was threatened by strangers who did not even see him as important. The dog placed its head against his leg as if it could feel his anger. He breathed in slowly. "Then we don't wait." The queen tilted her head. "What do you plan?" He took out a rough map he had drawn of the forest. It showed trails, cliffs, a creek, and an abandoned mining tunnel deeper in the woods. He pointed to a spot far from the cabin. "There's an old tunnel here," he said. "The entrance is hidden by brush. It goes deep underground, then splits. If we can get you there, you'll be harder to detect, and if they send hunters close, we can trap them." The queen stared at the map. "You will move me." "Yes," he said, "but not alone. You can walk now, right?" She tested her hand, clenching it. "Yes, not far, but yes," he nodded. "Then we do it before they return." The queen looked at him, and her voice softened slightly. "You could leave, you could run to the colony and warn them." He shook his head. "By the time anyone listens, it will be too late, and if I leave you, they will take you. I don't like that idea." The queen studied him like she was seeing him for the first time. "Humans are stubborn?" "Yeah," he said again. "We're famous for it." They moved quickly. The man packed food, water, basic medicine, and a small kit of tools. The queen put on part of her armor, the pieces that still worked. The armor reacted to her body like it was alive, sealing lightly around her. The glowing lines brightened and stabilized. The dog waited by the door, ready. Before they left, the man took one more look at the cabin. He did not know if he would see it again. Then he locked the door and stepped into the forest. They moved along narrow trails only he knew, staying under thick tree cover. The dog ran ahead and then returned, guiding and checking. The queen walked carefully. Her movement was quiet and smooth. Even injured, she moved with a grace that felt unnatural, like she had been trained since birth to never show weakness. As they traveled, the man placed motion sensors behind them, small, hidden devices that would alert him if someone followed. He also dropped tiny metal pieces on the path that only his handheld scanner could pick up, markers for his return. After 2 hours, they reached the hidden tunnel entrance. It was covered by vines and fallen branches. The man pulled the brush aside, revealing old stone and rusted metal supports. The queen looked at it. "This is where humans once dug?" "Yeah," he said. "They found nothing useful and left, but it's still here." They entered. The air inside was cold and damp. Water dripped slowly from the ceiling. The tunnel smelled like earth and old rock. The man turned on a small light. The dog's eyes adjusted quickly. They moved deeper until they reached a wider chamber. The man set down supplies and began working. He did not just want to hide. He wanted control. He placed his battery pack in the corner and connected wires to it. He set up small lights deeper in a side tunnel where he wanted to create a fake signal. He used his drone parts to build a simple moving device, something that would give off heat and motion, like a living body. Then he placed it farther away from their hiding spot. The queen watched. "You build bait." "Yes," he said. "If they scan, they'll see movement, they'll think it's you, they'll send hunters, and when they do..." He pulled out wire traps, silent and thin. He began setting them in narrow tunnel paths where hunters would have to walk single file. He also placed small rock piles that could fall if touched the wrong way. The queen looked impressed but careful. "Your tools are primitive, yet your mind is sharp." The man shrugged. "Primitive tools still work if you use them right." A sudden beep came from one of his sensors. A small light on his wrist device blinked. The dog stiffened. The man's breath caught. "They're here," he whispered. The queen closed her eyes briefly, listening. Her senses seemed stronger than his. Then her eyes opened again. "Not close yet," she said, "but soon." The man did not waste time. He set the last trap and then sat with the queen in the darker corner of the chamber. The dog lay down between them, ready to spring up at any sound. Minutes passed. Then the tunnel filled with a faint hum. It was not from their equipment, it was from outside. A scanning drone flying near the entrance, searching. The man held his breath. The queen's face stayed calm, but her eyes narrowed. Her hand rested on a small blade-like tool on her belt, not a weapon meant for cruelty, but a tool for defense. The hum grew closer, then faded away. The man's fake signal device moved quietly in the side tunnel, giving off tiny bursts of heat and motion. Above, the hunters scanned. They found the bait. The man heard voices in the distance through the stone. The translator device in the queen's armor picked up fragments and whispered them in broken human words. "Signal underground, target forward." The man's hands tightened. "They're coming in." The queen nodded. "Yes." Footsteps echoed, not many, a small team. They thought they were being careful. The dog lifted its head and looked down the tunnel. The man watched the trap line, his heart pounding. He had never fought soldiers before. He had hunted animals. He had repaired machines. He had lived quietly. But now his life had become a battlefield because he had chosen kindness one night in the woods. A drone appeared first, floating low in the tunnel. Its light swept across the stone walls. Behind it came 2 hunters, moving smoothly. They walked straight into the first wire trap. The wire snapped tight around the lead hunter's ankle, pulling it off balance. The hunter hit the ground hard. Before it could recover, the second hunter stepped forward, and the rock pile fell from above, crashing in front of it, blocking its path. The drone jerked upward, confused. The man pressed a switch. His small device sent a burst of energy into the wire, not enough to cause serious harm, but enough to shock the armor systems and make them glitch. The hunter's armor flickered. Its red helmet lights blinked. The queen leaned close and whispered, "Now." She moved. Even injured, she moved faster than the man expected. She stepped from the darkness like a shadow. Her armor glowed softly as she reached the hunter. She did not strike to destroy. She used a smooth, precise motion to disable its gear, pulling a small control unit from the side of its armor and crushing it in her hand. The hunter froze, systems failing. The second hunter tried to raise its weapon, but the dog lunged forward, barking loudly, snapping at the hunter's arm. The sudden attack forced the hunter to stumble back. The man rushed forward and slammed the tunnel light into the hunter's helmet, blinding its sensors for a second. He grabbed the hunter's weapon and threw it down the tunnel away from them. The hunter recovered quickly, swinging toward him. The queen stepped between them. Her eyes glowed brighter, and the markings under her skin flared like veins of red light. She raised her hand, and a pulse of energy burst outward, not fire, not violence, but a force wave that pushed the hunter backward into the rock wall. The hunter collapsed, stunned. The tunnel fell quiet again, except for the drone's faint hum. The man stared at the queen. "You can do that?" She breathed hard, but her voice stayed steady. "Yes, I am not only a symbol, I am trained." The drone suddenly beeped loud. It had transmitted data. The queen's face tightened. "They know." The man's sensor beeped again, louder now, showing multiple movement signals. More hunters were coming. The queen looked at him seriously. "We cannot stay. Their leader will come. And the ship will prepare to destroy this place if they fail again." The man's mind raced. "Then we go deeper." They grabbed supplies quickly. The dog stayed close. They moved through a narrow side passage the man remembered from old exploration days. It led to a deeper tunnel that curved downward. Behind them, shouting echoed in alien language. Lights flickered. The hunters were confused, angry, searching. The man led the way into the darkness, using his small flashlight. He guided them through twisting paths until they reached a large underground chamber with an opening to another tunnel system on the far side. He stopped there, breathing hard. "This chamber connects to an old emergency exit," he said. "It opens near the creek, far from here." The queen nodded. "Good." Then she paused and touched her armor, focusing. A faint holographic screen appeared. She stared at it, her expression turning grim. "What is it?" the man asked. "They are sending a message," she said. A sound filled the chamber, like a voice coming from far away. The hunter's leader was speaking to someone in orbit. The translator whispered the words, broken but clear enough. "Search failing. Target using human cover. Permission requested for area cleanse." The man's blood ran cold. "Area cleanse means," the queen nodded slowly, "yes, they will burn the forest." The dog growled low, sensing the tension. The man's hands clenched. "So even if we escape my home, the animals, everything," the queen cut in softly. "Yes." He swallowed hard. Anger burned in his chest, not wild anger, but the kind that makes a person steady and dangerous. "That's not happening," he said. The queen looked at him sharply. "You cannot stop a ship." The man looked back with fierce calm. "Maybe not with weapons. But with truth," she blinked. "Truth." He stepped closer. "You said you're a queen. You said they betrayed you. If you can contact your people, if you can send proof, then their leader loses power. If the ship is acting without permission, the Empire will see it." The queen stared at him, and for a moment her face was unreadable. Then she slowly nodded. "I can broadcast," she said, "but my signal is weak and they will try to block it." The man thought fast. "Then we boost it." He pulled out his battery pack. "I have power, not much. But if we connect your armor to my system, we can amplify your signal through the colony's old relay towers. There's one near the creek. It's broken, but I've repaired parts of it before." The queen's eyes narrowed. "You repaired a relay tower?" "It was useful for weather updates," he said, "and for emergency calls." The queen looked at him like she was seeing the hidden strength of humanity in one man's stubborn mind. "Then we go," she said. They moved through the exit tunnel quickly. Water sounds grew louder until they reached a small opening covered by rocks. The man pushed them aside, and cool, fresh air rushed in. They emerged near the creek. The sun was low now, turning the water orange. Across the clearing, an old metal relay tower stood tilted, half covered by vines. The man had repaired its base months ago. He had never thought it would matter like this. They ran toward it. Suddenly, the air above them shimmered. A hunter drone dropped from the sky, followed by 3 hunters landing silently behind it. Their leader was with them now, the taller one. The leader's voice came through its translator, cold and confident. "Target found." The dog barked fiercely and moved in front of the man. The man raised his rifle, though he knew it was not enough. The queen stepped forward calmly, lifting her hands slightly, not in surrender, but in command. The leader laughed, a harsh sound. "Queen, you are far from your throne." The queen's eyes glowed. "You are far from your honor." The leader stepped closer. You weakened our empire, you spoke of mercy, you spoke of peace, you made us look soft. The queen's voice stayed steady. You confuse cruelty with strength. The leader raised its weapon. Your time ends now. The man's heart pounded. He knew they needed time to connect the signal, time to broadcast proof. He glanced at the relay tower. A small access panel sat at its base. He whispered to the queen, "I need 1 minute." The queen nodded once, then moved. She did not attack wildly. She moved with purpose, like a ruler protecting more than herself. She stepped toward the hunters and released a pulse of energy that disrupted their helmets for a moment. Their red lights flickered. The dog charged, barking and snapping at their legs, keeping them off balance. The man ran to the tower base and opened the panel. He connected wires quickly, hands moving fast from years of repair work. He plugged his battery pack in and then grabbed the queen's armor cable, connecting it to the relay system. "Now!" he shouted. The queen turned toward the tower, placing her hand on the metal. Her armor flared bright and the relay tower lights, dead for years, suddenly sparked to life. A hum rose into the air. The leader's eyes widened. "Stop her!" The hunters rushed forward. The queen's voice rose, not loud but powerful. Her broadcast spread outward like a wave. She sent images and data, proof of the betrayal, proof of the attack on her, proof of the general's lies. She sent her voice across space, speaking to her people with the authority of the true ruler. The leader screamed in anger and fired at the relay tower. Sparks flew. The tower shook. The man threw himself against the panel, trying to shield the wiring. The dog barked wildly, charging the leader, forcing it to step back. The queen kept broadcasting, refusing to stop even as the tower sparks grew worse. Then a new voice came through the air, not from the hunters, but from above. A ship transmission, sudden and strong. "Cease operation," the voice commanded in alien language. The leader froze. The queen's broadcast had reached someone with power. The leader tried to resist, raising its weapon again, but the ship above fired a warning pulse into the ground nearby, shaking the earth and forcing the hunters to stumble. The leader looked up, shocked. "No!" The queen turned slowly, breathing hard. Her eyes locked onto the leader. "Your betrayal is seen," she said. The leader backed away, realizing the empire itself had heard. Its power was crumbling in real time. The ship voice spoke again, clearer now. "Commander, stand down. You acted without authority. Return for judgment." The leader's shoulders tightened. For a moment it looked like it would fight anyway. Then it turned and signaled its hunters. They retreated quickly, lifting into the sky with their drones, vanishing into the clouds like a nightmare losing its grip. The forest became quiet again, except for the creek water and the crackling sound of the damaged relay tower. The man fell to his knees, breathing hard. His hands were shaking. The dog returned to his side and licked his hand once, grounding him. The queen stood near the tower, her face calm but exhausted. The glow beneath her skin slowly faded back to normal. "It worked," the man whispered. The queen looked at him. For the first time, she allowed a small smile, brief but real. "Yes," she said. "Because you fought in your way." They stood there together, human, dog, and alien queen, surrounded by trees that still lived because one human refused to step aside. Soon, another ship appeared above the clouds, larger and brighter. It did not scan like a hunter. It moved with controlled purpose. A small shuttle descended and landed gently in the clearing. Alien guards stepped out, not like hunters but like official protectors. Their armor looked different, marked with symbols of lawful authority. A tall figure stepped from the shuttle, removing its helmet. It looked similar to the queen, pale and sharp-featured, but its expression held respect. "My queen," it said, bowing. The queen lifted her chin. "Rise, we have much to repair." The guard looked at the man and the dog. "Human," it said, "you sheltered her, you risked yourself. Why?" The man swallowed. He did not have a heroic speech, he only had the truth. "Because it was right," he said. "Because I didn't want to be the kind of person who walks away." The guard studied him, then nodded slowly. "Your kind is stronger than we assumed." The queen turned to the man. Her voice became softer, almost personal. "You saved more than me," she said. "You saved my empire from becoming only monsters." The man looked at the forest, then at his cabin far away, hidden between trees. It might still be there, it might be damaged later, but it was still standing for now. He looked back at her. "So what happens now?" The queen breathed in deeply. "Now I return, I reclaim my throne, I rebuild what betrayal broke." She paused, then spoke again carefully. "And I will not forget what you did. I will speak of humans differently, not as weak, not as tools, but as allies." The man nodded slowly. Good. The queen glanced at the dog. And your brave guardian will be honored as well. The dog wagged its tail, unaware of politics, only happy the danger was gone. The queen stepped closer to the man. You could come, she said. You could leave this quiet life. You could see the stars. For a moment, the man imagined it. Wide ships, strange cities. A life bigger than the woods. Then he looked at the forest and felt the pull of his simple home. He shook his head gently. I belong here, he said, but it's nice to know someone out there owes me one. The queen's smile returned, small but warm. More than one, she said. She turned and walked toward the shuttle. The guards followed. Before she stepped inside, she looked back one last time. When the galaxy speaks of strength, she said, they will remember this day, not because of weapons, but because a human chose courage and kindness together. Then she entered the shuttle. The shuttle rose slowly and disappeared into the sky, joining the ship above until both became distant lights among clouds. The man stood beside the creek, the dog at his side. The forest was quiet again, but it no longer felt the same. The world felt bigger, the stars felt closer. He took a long breath and started walking back toward his cabin. He did not know what tomorrow would bring, but he knew one thing: a single choice in the woods had changed the fate of an empire. And humans, even alone in a quiet forest, could still stand against darkness and win.